Hi guys! Just let me make sure the sound is working. Hello? Perfect. Nice, welcome to Livestream. I think today's Livestream is called Self-Image. So welcome to Livestream Self-Image. I haven't turned the sounds off my phone. Just 1 second. We're going to be pinging if I don't. What else was I going to say? I was interrupted by my phone. Yeah, welcome to the live stream. If this is the first time you've been on one of my live streams before, if you want to ask me a question, then you go to Skype, and Skype is Lisa Cairns 12. So just send me a Skype request, and that's in the box below, I believe. I do these live streams every Tuesday, and no, not every Tuesday, every Wednesday and Sunday at 6 p.m. French time. But always check my website because sometimes I can't do the live stream. So, and I believe the link to my live stream is in the box below, or you can just press the I in the corner, which should be around here. And that I, you can click there and it'll have live stream events. If you want to join an event I'm doing, the next event I'm doing is in July, the 7th to the 14th, and it's a retreat in the south of Spain in a very, very beautiful, I think it's 14th century renovation. It's a huge property with swimming pool, jacuzzi, tennis courts, gym. It's really spectacular, and it's really well priced. I know the owners, so I managed to get a really nice price. So you can come and enjoy non-duality talks and be in luxury as well. And there's also dormitories if you don't have so much money, and camping. And all the information is on my website, so I believe you can click here again and find that information. Another event I'm doing is on the 26th of May, and that's at 10 a.m. French time. I'm doing a meditation class, and it books out normally, so you have to book early, but there's still a couple of places left. So if you want to join that, you can go onto my sessions page and then click on the meditation, and it's in there. Pourquoi? What else? I think I have to shut some things down to stop my computer humming away. What else can I shut down? Let's have a look. Force quit. Yeah, all of that I have to use. You can force quit you. My computer is getting very excited. I'm not sure if you can hear. I'm sure you can. I always like to sit in silence at the beginning of talks. It's just my thing. I never used to say anything, I just used to do it. But now, why not? I like to just sit quietly. You're very welcome to join me. You might hear the dog behind barking. My mom has got the gardener, and Khaleesi is ecstatic protecting the garden. She's very much enjoying that. She's following him around the house, inside the house, so as he goes into different areas of the garden, and she's barking at him. And there's not much I can do because I'm doing the live stream, so I can't chase after him and be, no, no. So I hear my mum every so often like, Khaleesi! Khaleesi is super proud of herself. She loves to guard and defend things. So she's like, I am doing a pretty fine job. Even the humans are screaming at me in celebration of how well I'm doing. So recently, someone wrote to me and asked me why I always say nice things about myself. But they didn't quite put it like that. The email seemed slightly angry. So they put it in the sense of, are you a narcissist? You compliment yourself and you say nice things about yourself. You said that you're fairly attractive. You said that you've got high intelligence. And maybe I read it wrong. Maybe the person wasn't angry with me, but it sounded like they were angry with me. And I happened to mention it to somebody else, and they said to me, yeah, it doesn't, why do you do that? Why do you say these nice things about yourself? And I thought, internally, I thought that was a bizarre question. So when I was younger, I had very low self-esteem. I was dyslexic at school, so I went through, I think, 13 years of being the bottom at everything. There was nothing I could succeed in because all of it required having good grammar, good spelling, good reading, even sports. I was really good at sports, but I still was the bottom at it because I couldn't spell all the muscles correctly or write it down on paper correctly. Everything in England when I was growing up was very much about written tests. So I failed and failed and failed. The one thing I didn't fail in was, I did. At school I failed in theatre as well, but outside of school I did fairly well in it, which was a saving grace really, because in every other area I failed. And in this one area I had compliments. And then also I had two parents that were perfectionists, and I love that. I love perfectionists. I often have had partners that are perfectionists, but when you have parents that are perfectionists, then they have very high standards which you have to live up to in certain areas. So there was a lot of areas where I felt like I was a real failure, and I remember even like crying to my parents when I was younger, when I was like 10 or 11 or 12. There was no place in this world for me. There wasn't a place, there wasn't a workplace for me, like there wasn't something I could do. Everyone else could do things and there wasn't a place for me. And I remember feeling that really young, and it really affected me, low self-esteem. I was also quite plumpy as a child. I wasn't attractive. I wasn't super plumpy, but I didn't become more attractive till I was older, so I didn't grow up with that either as well. I didn't have many things that were reinforcing my self-esteem. And as I got into this spiritual path, I met a teacher who was always super positive about himself, like everything was super positive. And I remember thinking at the time that he was maybe potentially an idiot, because like how could everything be so positive? And like he used to interpret things and I'd be like, and everything was always positive. Even like if he'd crashed his car, he had a positive spin on it. There was always a positive spin. But I noticed over time that this was really beneficial for him, because he wasn't fixating on problems or negative, he was fixating on the positive. And I noticed how much it served him. And I noticed how much I wasn't doing that. That my stories often revolved around problems that I couldn't fix, feeling stuck, not feeling good enough. And it really reflected back to me by the way I interacted with others of how I saw myself. And so I started trying to focus more on positive aspects of myself. And it's beautiful when you begin to do it. And yes, society might not appreciate it, because society is very much like, especially in England, you have to put yourself down, you have to be humble, and you have to be lower than other people. And still I can do that as well. But I try to to focus more on my positive sides. Obviously, you've got sides which aren't so compatible with certain situations and maybe are frustrating to others, or they don't like it, or not so appropriate in certain situations. But I try to look at the positives of Lisa, or the attention goes more to the positives of myself. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful to love your character. It's not a negative thing to think positively of the character. We can also get into non-duality or this whole ego thing, and it's like, oh, you must put yourself down all the time. But this is just a pattern. There's nothing egotistical about being honest about your qualities. You don't need to focus on that which you can't do, or that you're not. You can focus on what you can do. But being humble, not trying to hold it over people or use it as a power game, not in that way, but just being genuine. And as you focus more on your qualities, then you'll actually be able to give more, because it's very energizing. And there's a sensation when you really know what your qualities are of wanting to give and share them with other people. And the more balanced you get on the human level, the more you'll like yourself, you'll fall in love with yourself, you'll appreciate yourself. And it's the same with your environment. I watched somebody saying the other day, if you want to punish someone, don't appreciate good things they do. So if you come home and say your partner's cleaned, a lot of people would focus on the bits that are negative about the cleaning, that they didn't do this or it's not perfect. But it's focusing more on what they have done, on the positive sides of things. So the way that separation happens is, so when we're children, we're just wide open. We're so expansive in our view. Our personality is also wide open. And we don't have this sense that we exist inside this body. We're just at one with everything. We are in awe of everything. And we don't have a sense of who we are and what we need to be. This is something that's put onto us. At some age, there's an identification with a name, an identification with the body, and then parents and society start telling you of the things that you do wrong and what you've got to do right. And because our bodies move towards pleasure, the personality structure begins to try to always be in a state of pleasure, try to always get those pleasures completed. So if the parent says you've got to be good, there's an attempt to always be good. But as that happens, there begins to be a losing of the natural flow, because in that natural flow of the body, there might not have been wanting to be good in certain moments. There might have been wanting to twirl around in a public place or go, yeah, when everyone else is quiet. And it's appropriate to learn the rules of society. I'm not saying disregard it. But if you begin to live your life continuously from going against your natural flow and living in this mental reality of being good, being kind, being ethical, being proper, being efficient, being active, doing things, accomplishing things, being successful, being better. So if you're constantly focusing on that, then what begins to grow is your mind activity about yourself, your imagination of yourself. And you begin to get into stories of feeling like failure, feeling like you can't succeed, feeling like you've done wrong, feeling like you're not good enough. And it over focuses on the imagination and on thinking. I'm not saying that all the time you get to follow your flow. There's times when that's not possible, but you want to be more in the flow than in the intellect, because the intellect begins to take over, and the intellect is naturally focused on fixing problems. So it begins to constantly see problems with itself, things that it's done wrong, that it's not cleaned well enough, it's not done its hair well enough, its work colleague doesn't like it, it's not counted well enough, it's not completed its tasks well enough, it's not done the taxes well enough, it's not written a book, it's not better than the neighbour, it's not got a big enough house, rather than all the positives that are, because the mind, the nature of the mind is to focus on fixing problems. It's not going to look so much towards the positives. It's like, tick, the positives are done, let's fixate on the negatives. And when there's the identification with the mind, then there's an over fixation on this negativity. And what begins to happen then is your chakras in your body begin to go out of balance, because you keep repeating negative stories and negative images, things that you haven't done, things that you haven't completed, things that you haven't said, things you've got to do. You begin to play terrible scenarios, and internally your chakras all begin to go out of balance, and you become more and more solid, and more of a sense of self. As you go through life, you pick up more of a sense of being you. And the chakras no longer are expanded into everything and free. They're tight and contracted, so you really feel like somebody solid inside the body. And often they're so uncomfortable, your lower chakras, that you just live up here in your head. You just become a walking head. I don't have a body, I don't feel anything. And then you begin to get so out of line with your flow that your stories that you tell about yourself, your intellectual stories and images that you produce about yourself, are totally out of line with actually how you feel and what you want. So you get to the point where you're living an absolute lie. First lie is that you are someone separate. And then from that emerges all these other stories of anxieties, of fears, of things you have to do, you haven't done. And you don't even remember initially what you want. And your initial want, your initial flow is like directly out of the amness, out of love. It's like love, your original flow. There is this consciousness, this empty looking, and this I am, and then in pops a want, in pops an image, and then the body moves and the body acts. But when you become so contracted and tight into here, it's gone through hundreds of layers of discomfort. And then suddenly all actions begin to come from lack and fear and discomfort. And it doesn't need to be like that. Life doesn't need to be like that. Your nature is free. Your nature is love and expandedness and emptiness. This emptiness appearing as everything. It's so free. And I'm not saying that the flow's going to be this perfect version that you imagine in your head. The flow is funky. It's got its ups and downs and its roller coasters. It wouldn't be exciting if it didn't, if it was all just running through the fields, like poppy fields, like The fact that you have to do things and that there's time and there's deadlines is exciting. Like, imagine if you were playing Mario Brothers and there was no goal. Mario Brothers just had to keep hopping through the poppy field, and that was all you had to do. You'd be like, the fact that he's got challenges is exciting. We're actually excited by the challenges. As you begin to get into your flow, you feel the excitement of being again, the wonder, like a child. I've been speaking incredibly loud, which means it will be tick, 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 tick for you guys. What was I speaking about? Your natural sense of being. And it's like love. And as the human gets more in line with its natural flow, on the human level, it feels like your actions come from love. And you're allowed to pick from that place. If you're really tightly contracted, then you won't be able to hear this, but if you're more open, you're allowed to pick that which you love. You don't have to be driven by fear. And the more that you pick from that place of love, the more that the things that you want and need will come to you. The more that you pick from that place of fear and anxiety and negativity, the more they'll go away from you, that which you want. You don't have to listen to all the fear things of the mind. The mind is helpful to an extent, but it's only... You can also trust this natural flow and just update the mind with information and then let love decide. So who you are is this emptiness that's experiencing itself as everything. That's who you truly are. This image of yourself, this idea of who you are, is only an idea which is always changing and updating. That's not the looker, that's not the experiencer. It's an experience. Who's experiencing that image of yourself? That person. And we can talk about fixing that image and that person to an extent. It's almost like that person has to relax in order for this to be heard, for this shift to happen. But it's not about becoming a perfect person or an enlightened person. You can't get enlightened as that person because that person doesn't exist. That person that you imagine yourself to be is thoughts and energies and memories and feelings appearing now in presence. And presence is who you are. And presence doesn't hold on to anything. It doesn't have a memory. It's emptiness experiencing itself as everything. And it's this sense of being, this sense of I am or amness, this alive, radical love. The amness is love. You could say the amness is the everything and the nothing is the emptiness, but they're two sides of the same coin. One can't come before the other. They exist simultaneously. Some people like to say the nothing, Brahman, is first. But I think that's sexist. Because nothing in spirituality, which everyone says come first, is the masculine, and the everything is the feminine. And this is deeply believed in most spiritualities, that the nothing comes first. But how can you separate them out? Nothing doesn't exist without everything, so there can never be nothing because there is... It's non-existence. Non-existence doesn't exist, so it never happens, so there's always nothing and everything happening. You can't have one without the other. Sometimes they mean it as in like consciousness can see the I am, but as you get to know them better, you realize that there's no separation, that consciousness and the I am is everywhere and everything. That empty looking is actually in all things, and that I am, that love, that sense of being is in all things, and consciousness can't see it. It is everywhere and everything. Sometimes you can have experiences like you see it, but then it begins to be seen that they're everywhere. That love is in all things, just like the consciousness is in all things, and all things are empty and full simultaneously. So if this is getting super confusing, go back to this person, this image of yourself. So you think you're a name, an age. You imagine yourself. You imagine what's just happened. So you've just been out for a walk in the park and you've come back in, you've had a cup of tea, and then you're like, oh, bing, bing, Lisa's online. Again, listen to her. Now, that's a memory appearing now. That's not actually happened. It's a memory appearing now. Whether it happened or not is irrelevant. We don't know. It's like that's a koan. But we know the memory of it now. And who experiences that memory? There's something that's ever present, that's always present, in which all memories and ideas and thoughts and feelings come and go in. So everything you think about yourself, your memories, your ideas, your projection into future, your wants, all of those are appearing and disappearing in life, in this. And there's nothing wrong with that person. You don't have to stop being egotistical or stop being human. It's just seeing that that's not who you are, remembering that you're something beyond that, that's not limited to a body, to time. All of that appears in it. And this never dies. Who you are never dies, never changes, and always is. And it's perfectly still and safe. It's not separate from anything. It's not in relationship with anything, so it's never in danger. It's the person that's in danger or has problems. But that's not who you are. That's a character appearing in who you are. This is who you are. This is who you are. This moment. And you can't walk into this moment. You never leave this moment. It's always this moment. How do you walk into a moment? How do you get to this moment? Just because something changes scenery doesn't mean you're in a different moment. It's the same moment and the scenery's changed. It's the opposite way around to what you think. You've been taught backwards. You believe that you're constantly going into new moments, but that's never your experience. Your experience is one moment and everything else is changing. And this moment, this life, this empty looking is who you are. It's totally safe and free. Absolute love. So hey guys, nice to see you. Hi Isabel. Hi Elanga. Hi Alex. Hi Lisa. Teachers are always talking about the I am or being. I can't seem to understand it. Can you explain it? Thanks. Hey Alex. I think I just explained it, but hey, let's go again. I'm good at going again. So do you remember when you were like 4 or 5 years old and it was your birthday? Or something. Do you realise that there's the same aliveness then as now? So my friend once had a discussion with my mum. My mum's not into this subject, and you know, I don't know. She did read my book. I don't know what she got from that. But one time my friend was speaking to her, and she was turning 70, and she said, I don't feel 70. And he jumped in. He said, yeah, of course you don't feel 70. You feel the same age as when you were 20, as when you were 30, as when you were 40, as when you were 10. as when you were 5? And she was like, yes, I do. And then she said, and then I look in the mirror and it's a shock. And it's the same in you, Alex. So you have this sense that you're aging and you're going through time, but there's another part of you that feels ageless. This internal sense of being that is. And this being is love. It feels like love. So when you think about yourself, can you see that there's something that doesn't feel like it's, say if you're 30 years old or 40 years old, it doesn't feel like a father, doesn't feel like a partner, doesn't feel like a director or a street cleaner or whatever job you do, or stay at home, whatever it is. It doesn't feel like that. It feels without any label. And you have to remind yourself what you are to feel like that. Hi Marie, I feel like wearing makeup really feeds into my ego in a negative way. I wonder if you can discuss that briefly. I can see you still wear it. How do you balance these two worlds, for lack of better words? I love wearing makeup, wearing nice clothes. I'm not a super feminine woman, so I don't tend to dress up. I remember for my friends, I was a bridesmaid and I had to wear really like glittery high heels, like really high heels, and like a really thrilly dress. And I looked in the mirror and I was like, I feel like a transgender. This doesn't feel right. So I don't have that really feminine side, but I still like to wear nice clothes. I like my clothes to match. I like to wear makeup. I really appreciate tattoos on women. There's a particular look that I really appreciate in women, and that's, I think, the way this body tries to dress itself. It's sort of like feminine but also masculine. It's just something I really appreciate, and internally I feel like that as well. Now, this can be ego driven if it's done from a place of lack. So if you're doing it from a place of, I need love from others in the way that I wear makeup, in the way that I dress, then it's like anything, it's going to create suffering, because you're looking to the external world for your sense of being, for your sense of presence. And that's who you are. That's your natural sense of freedom. But on the human level, on the feminine level, of course you like to show your body off to the gentleman, or if you're a lesbian, to the feminine. And you'll show yourself off in the way that you feel attractive, and that's a very balanced way of being. And you normally have to go through lots of stages. Like I went through a stage in my early 20s where I shaved all my hair off, or I wouldn't wear makeup, or I only wore men's clothes. And then I went through a Buddhist stage of just wearing very simple clothes. I went through all these different stages to come to see that you're allowed to, when you're not looking from love from it, you are allowed to be human, to be an animal. And on an animal level, if I look at my dog, I know that Khaleesi loves to flirt. She loves to flirt. If she meets a boy dog that she likes, if she meets a female dog that she likes, she loves to flirt. And she, just the way she moves her body, like her whole body language changes. And she's so cute when she flirts. She flirts with me as well, actually. Only when she's hungry or she wants a tickle. And if you look at birds do it as well, although it's the men that tend to have the very colourful feathers and be really beautiful. I think in the human society it tends to be women, although some might argue. And you're allowed to show that off in the way that feels right for you. It doesn't feel right for me to be super feminine, and I know I've had boyfriends before that have wanted me to be more feminine, and it's just not like that for me. I was out with my mum the other day, walking the dog, and I have a lot. I used to have asthma and allergies, but it's healed a lot. But I can have a lot of stuff coming out of my sinuses when everything goes into pollination, and I try not to take any medicines for it, so it ends up being a lot of fluids come out if I'm really in the countryside, so if I'm walking the dog. And I've found a way to deal with it. And basically I found a way to blow my nose without tissues, and it's really unattractive. You just put your finger on your nose, and then you blow out like that, and you just do it to the side. And my mum and me were out, and my mum didn't have a tissue, and she had a runny nose. And I was like, oh, Mum, I've discovered a way in which you can blow your nose without a tissue, and you don't get it on yourself at all. It's fantastic. Like, it doesn't touch any of you. You just go like this, and then it's out of your nose. And we're in the middle of nowhere, so there's no one to see us. And she's walking along, and she's struggling like... And I say this, and she stops, and she looks at me, and she goes, Lisa, I'm too feminine to do that. It was so cute. My mum is super feminine, and I'm just not. I've got a feminine side, but I've also got a very strong masculine side as well. It was so sweet. And she's very small, my mum, and I'm quite tall. And so I looked, and she went, Lisa, I'm too feminine to do that. It really warmed my heart when she said that. It was so cute. And you're allowed to shine. You know, to get into this subject and think, I've got to stop shining because that's egotistical, is crazy. Of course that's not how it's meant to be. Of course that's not how it's meant to be. It's human to have this urge to give your gifts to other people. And beauty isn't a gift as in like learning to play the guitar, but it's also a gift to have physical beauty. It doesn't, and it's so different for everyone. What some person find beautiful in humans, other people don't, and then other people find this and that. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Imagine saying to a peacock, you're not allowed to show off your tail because that's egotistical. And the peacock suddenly feels ashamed about putting its tail up. Or imagine if you said it to like one of those really proud birds, like a parrot, a robin, you're not allowed to show off your red chest. It's very egotistical. This is crazy. The difference is when you believe that you're going to find I am and the consciousness in those actions, and that's the seeking energy. It feels tense. But of course you're allowed to shine. I think that often this idea when you get into spirituality and you think, oh, my ego, I can't do this, I can't do that. I think it's often about psychological things like afraid of competition, or afraid of being better than someone else, or afraid of standing out from the crowd. You're allowed to shine. It's just not going to bring you freedom. What brings you freedom is I am and the empty looking. And if you feel attracted to wearing makeup, then you can wear makeup and you can flirt and enjoy it. And you can put yourself out there. Because I got into spirituality so young, I got into all these traps. Because I'm shy and I tend to have an introvert personality. I fell into the trap that I wasn't allowed to, and also because of my low self-esteem, I fell into the trap of using it's egotistical to sort of stop myself from shining, not using my skills and not stepping up and not stepping fully into myself. It's egotistical. But you have to take what you feel from that, so you see how it makes you feel. Thank you so much for covering this. Your words are really helpful, so helpful. And this gratitude. Oh, the poor peacock. Yeah. It's funny what we do in the name of spirituality, and it's not the teacher's fault in any way. It's the student. It's like psychologically we're always latching on to those words and interpreting them normally as a way to hide. I was really lucky, and this is something still I'm understanding what it is to be human and to step more into myself. This part keeps expanding in me. I don't know if it ever gets to an end of stepping up more. There's still something I have to work on is having confidence. Like I'm pretty confident compared most probably to most people, but still like from childhood. So this is an example. So I just speak about non-duality. I don't write non-duality at the moment. Sometimes writing comes out, but mostly I just speak. So the book that's on my website is transcribed by somebody else. And somebody said, why don't you write a book? And I said, oh, I don't write. And they said, why don't you write? And I said, oh, I can't do that sort of thing. I'm not good at that sort of thing. And they said, but you can speak it, and it's beautiful when you speak it. And I was like, but it's different. And they said, are you sure that's not a conditioning from your school, your childhood, that you can't write? Maybe you should open to the idea that you can write. And that really had a beautiful effect. That was about a year ago, and I can feel more movement to maybe writing a book. Like I can write dialogue, but I thought that was really different from writing a book. Like I write scripts, but that to me is really different, writing dialogue. It's not proper English like a book, but it was just a concept I had that limits me. And then I took that concept off, and now there's more of a movement towards that. So, and I think that maybe most probably my confidence is better than a lot of people in our society, but I often find little ways in which my mind blocks me from something, thinking I can't do that, or that's not like Lisa, where really, yeah, our bodies have our tendency, but you're opening to, you want to get more and more in line with this idea of infinite possibilities. Like that's what the nature is, that's what I am, and the empty looking is. And so on the human level, the more you're in line with that, the better it feels on the human level. I forgot what I was saying that in relationship to. But yeah, so I was really lucky. When I got Khaleesi 6 years ago, I had been living, after I left Australia, I lived in Asia for a couple of years. And when you live in Asia, there's always an overflow of feral dogs or street dogs. And I'm fascinated by dogs and animals in general, but dogs are the ones you could watch the most. And so every evening and morning, I used to go and sit with the dogs and watch them in their packs. And I found that super helpful to understand better what it is to be human. Not human seeking human, like we pretty much know what that's like for the seeking humans, like you just look everywhere and everyone's seeking, but just being human without that seeking energy. And watching dogs, because obviously humans evolved from mammals, and we were predators like dogs, it helped me. And we're also pack animals like dogs. That's why we get on with dogs. It helped me understand more, like being human, like understanding these human feelings, that we do have a sense of competition. And obviously you have to see the ego in competition. So you have to see that you're not going to get freedom from that, and you're never better than anyone. But we do have this instinct to be competitive, just like the dogs. And the dogs don't take it personally. So if somebody does better than them, they might try their best to, say if one caught a crab, the other one might try their best to also catch a crab, or to get the crab off that dog. crabs are the little, which these, I was on an island on a beach with these dogs. It was very idyllic. And so say one caught it, there would be competition to get this crab. But then when the one that won got the crab, there wasn't this like suffering from all the other dogs. They just kind of accepted it. And that's something that humans don't have because they're so identified with the competition. And there was many things I learned also because I've been very left-wing and still have a tendency towards left-wing. I learned about hierarchy from the dogs. It's crazy that you can't learn about this from humans, but after this seeking energy dropped away here, it's almost like then you have to learn to be human again. Like, what's it to be human without this seeking energy? And it just comes, but there is a reconditioning that happens and a relearning. And I saw the benefits of having hierarchy in that group, and I saw the beauty of it as well. And I noticed how sometimes in left-wing mentalities, there's an avoidance of hierarchy, not because hierarchy is actually the problem, although I would prefer to live in a society that has less hierarchy, but not because that's the problem. A lot of the time that people actually just have issues with hierarchy because of their childhood conditioning, because they've had really dominant parents or they've had problems at school. And they see the problem with hierarchy. But actually hierarchy can also have some beautiful qualities to it. It's not all bad. Like in dogs, they have really strict hierarchy. Really strict. I mean, that's how we get on with dogs, is that we're their leader. And a dog pack without hierarchy is a disaster. Like sometimes other male dogs would come into the pack and there would always be lots of fight, and then, or other female dogs, and then it took a while to get their positions, and then once they got their positions again, they were all very stable. Okay, to another question. Hi Martin. Hi Lisa, do you feel like it's harder to get manipulated after awaking? It feels like everyone, including myself, are looking for reactions. Just after the awakening, it was so strong here that I really lost my abilities really to interact in the old way that I'd been with humans, and I had to learn how to interact with humans. And part of life's learning lesson was for an individual to come into my life and to lie to me and con me, and it was such a good learning lesson from me, because all my other ways of being, like, I was just so different, and I had to learn new ways of being with humans and interacting with humans that were seeking. And I'm not looking at them as if they're seeking, I'm looking at them as if they're free, and understanding and relearning it, not relearning it like I was before. And it was such a good lesson for me. It was very humbling. If you've ever been conned by someone and lied to, like I got really lied to and conned, and I felt it in my belly actually, that I was being lied to, and I confronted the person, and they were so adamant that it was an old habit or pattern of mine and it wasn't true, that I believed them, which I knew in my belly it was, that they were lying. And it was so good, and it really, pointed me more to how you really got to trust the body over the mind, over thinking. Because if I hadn't been intellectually interacting with that person convincing me that they weren't lying. My body knew they were. And it's like what's happened to me since the awakening is expanding more and more to that, like trusting this. Like sometimes I used to call it this bozo-ness, this innocence, like this first initial feeling that comes out, and trusting it and not letting it get too much enmeshed in thinking and mentality and words. Like really trusting the natural instincts. So yes, it is still possible, but I feel like I've been through quite an intense learning process of a different way of being than what I was before. That's very positive and opened and expanded, but also being aware of other people's motivations that might be more negative. And putting up better boundaries. Like also I had weak boundaries before, so afterwards, that was something I had to work on. But I found that life always gives you exactly what you need if you've got the right attitude. It always shows you what you're lacking on the human level. Like what you need to overcome. Always, and it's beautiful. And it's beautiful to be in this mentality of always being open to expanding and improving, but also seeing yourself as perfect as you are. So yes, it was possible. And all of us manipulate. Even me, it's not that enlightened people don't manipulate, it's part of being human. Manipulate sounds like a bad word, but it's like all of us are playing. You know, you're going into a room and you're being nice to people. You're not being grumpy or you're not being mean. Like you're having an influence over people. You're influencing their judgment or their thoughts or their ideas. Manipulation maybe sounds super harsh, but we're always doing it. Whenever you're interacting with someone, you're swaying them to what you want, and you're giving them an image of yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not who you are, and you're not going to find freedom in it. When you believe there's freedom in manipulating the other person, getting them to see the world the way you see the world, then everything comes with such intensity, and it's super important and can lead to really like nasty arguments. Like all of us are playing. Like look, I'm playing now. Like I'm not sitting here like, hello, my name is Lisa, and what you've got to do, you've got to do this. Like I'm expressive, I'm joyful, I'm smiling. Like smiling is something we learn. Like it's meant to show, I think, like show our teeth. Like, I forget what it is, because with monkeys smiling is an aggression, but I can't remember why or how smiling became positive. Like the way you dress, everything is play. Like kids, when they're playing because they're learning how to play with others, how to have an effect on others. Manipulation though maybe sounds too strong, but for sure I do it. Like all the time. Like if I'm sitting down and my cup of tea's on the worktop, and say I'm staying with my mum at the moment, so say my mum stands up to go and get something, I'm like and then like instead of me going, pass me my tea or something, I'm doing that, and she finds it sweet and endearing and she passes me the tea. But it's not something I'm doing consciously, it's just what the body's doing, but it's being sweet and playful. Like we're always doing it. Okay. Hi Lisa, I love the south of France. Would be lovely to join that one. Yeah, the south of France is super beautiful. especially in the spring, summer, and autumn. And the winter's nice too, but those are really beautiful months. I agree with every word you said. The less you become enveloped by the drama of yourself and others, the easier it is to let go a certain knowing of illusions. Thus, everything also becomes less dense and more interesting. Things open up and choices become less obvious. There's more of a flow to things. They go together like jerky, Jekyll and Hyde, nothing and everything. That's a horrid metaphor. Also, doesn't matter what comes first and last. It just is. Yeah. The reason that I say that masculine and feminine thing is because in the non-dual circles, it's very much that the nothing comes first. Like, and it's never questioned. And just by my saying that, like, I think opens up a fun way to look at it. Like, are we sure? And people will say, well, yes, you can experience nothing. You can have a nothing experience. No worries, it's okay for today. Looks neat and proper. Yeah, Isabel, I just didn't get the time to do it. Suddenly it was like 5 to 5, and I was like, I just have to go for it. Hi, Lisa, you can smell me if you want. Oh. You can call me, sorry. I don't know why I read that as smell. That's really funny. Hi, yes, not too close to the mic, quieter still. Oh, quieter still, okay. I can turn it down even more. Hello? Hi Lisa, when I am myself, I hear you speaking from my mouth. Do you think when feeling fear in the moment, we release ourselves by transcending the past? Also, or how Khaleesi the chicken beast, hail the chicken beast. She saw Canadian geese on my walk this morning with her. She saw Canadian geese babies. And normally she doesn't interact with Canadian geese because maybe they've chased her or she's not interested in chasing them for some reason. But I could see her looking at the babies because the babies look very much like chicken babies, and Khaleesi killed a lot of chicken babies in Thailand. And so I could see her suddenly like, she was very interested suddenly in the Canadian geese. Okay, I don't know what that means speaking through your mouth. I presume it's some form of samadhi, which is an experience which is showing you that your sense of self isn't here. This is an illusion that you are in here. Samadhis can be all different types. It can feel like your head's on the ceiling. It can feel like your feet are going through the ground. It can feel like your arms are on backwards, your head's on backwards. There's sort of distortion of the body. Okay, where was the person? Thomas, Tobias, that said they would. I can smell them. Okay, I can call them. I can call you. I'm hungry for my dinner. He is hungry for my dinner. Oh. Install on quit. Okay. Yeah, so if you want me to call you, just write a message and put call me, and I will call. Thomas.
Hey.
Hey.
So that was funny.
Yeah, you didn't expect it?
No. Why did you read that? I can smell you.
I know, that's really funny that I read that. I can smell you.
Yeah.
You can smell me. That was what I read. You can smell me if you want.
Yeah. That's interesting. Okay, so I have a question.
Yeah.
So I have been exploring meditation,
Yeah.
and sometimes I become really aware of empty space.
Yeah.
It's working. I mean, I'm really experiencing truth, I believe. I mean, every day.
What do you mean you're experiencing the empty space?
Because there's a difference between being aware of it and not being aware of it. So if I say that I'm experiencing it, it's because I'm becoming aware of it through meditation. You see?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know because I don't know what it is to be inside of your experience.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
we
all
could
right.
we could be talking about completely different things.
Yeah.
We've both got this like relationship with these words, and you mean something completely different to what I do. It could be that we're talking about exactly the same things.
Yeah. Why you don't have your video camera on?
Because it's too much upload for me. You know, if
Oh,
I start doing that, it's going to start affecting my stream quality.
okay. That's okay.
Yeah, it might be similar. It might be similar. If you turn on my
Similar what?
stream, if you turn on my stream with the volume off on my live stream with the volume off, you might find that it's almost in time because I've got it in lower resolution. I'm not streaming such high
Oh, yeah.
resolution, so it might be quite in time,
Yeah.
real time.
Yeah. That's all right.
So, is there anything you want me to help you with?
Yes. So as I was saying, I'm having this experience. I feel like it's working, the realization thing. So what happens is that, okay, even though I experience it, I always, no matter what I experience, because I can have really interesting experience, like having insights and understandings. I can activate intuition of these things through meditation. But no matter what I experience, I always come back to suffering and negativity. So in my experience, there's so much suffering. The suffering goes so deep that it's actually killing my physical body, literally.
Yeah, you've got to
So
get out of your circumstances. You need to go to a an ashram that supports you for a period, because the problem is so how old are you?
I am 20.
20. So
Yeah.
what's more than likely happened is you're in the situation where this is very typical for men, and I might be really wrong, so take it or leave it, just see if it resonates with you. But you're in the situation where you've been kicked out of home. Maybe you haven't been kicked out of home, but you're expected to become a man now. So you're expected to produce a career, look after yourself, produce a home, be educated, have friends, have a life. There's all this expectation on you suddenly. It's a very intense period, particularly for men leaving home, this leaving home part. And I assume I could be wrong, and please really feel into your body what resonates with you and what isn't true for you. I assume that you've struggled with this, that there is not low self-esteem, but a sense of feeling like you failed, or a sense like you can't make it. And this is producing a lot of suffering in you. So you've realized that, or you think that you can't make it in the world. There's a part of you that feels like it can't make it in this world. And so you've turned to looking for enlightenment, which can be very productive, because that feeling like you can't make it in this world, that like this world won't give you what you want, is true, actually. So the looking to enlightenment can be very beneficial. But in your circumstance, I'm pretty sure you're most probably feeling a lot of negativity coming to you from your family, from your situation, and you're being reflected back to you that you've got to be this man that everybody wants you to be, and that you've got to step up, and there's a feeling inside you that can't. So my suggestion to you is to go on the hero's journey, to leave home.
That's interesting.
To go to an ashram, to go to an environment with other spiritual seekers. To do it.
Yes,
to get out of your parents' energy, to move away from this energy that's saying you've got to be a particular way.
Yes, that's a good advice, but it doesn't necessarily apply correctly to my situation, because the situation is more than what you're saying. But we cannot talk about my personal stuff, I know that, but it was a very good idea what you just said, and I will consider it.
Do you know why I say that like that? It's because I work with a lot of young men. For some reason, maybe it's a mother thing, I attract a lot of young men to talks. Like, I'm 37, so I'm 17 years older than you. I may be I work with a lot of men, and I've had to really learn and understand what's going on in young men. And I think that young men in our society are the most in danger. Not females anymore. It's females are succeeding. Females are succeeding in the education system. They're succeeding way more than men. It's men that are failing in the education system, and then also men that are more susceptible to suicide and more susceptible to depression. I'm not sure about the depression one, because females come forward a lot more than what men do. But men are certainly the most vulnerable. Young men are the most vulnerable in our society, and this is a very typical pattern, because now men are not allowed to be men like they used to be, and they're being brought up in a different way that's different from thousands of years of being brought up, where they have to have this feminine aspect to them. They're brought up where their mothers tend to have been liberated from the way it used to be, where the mother brings up the children and stays at home. The mother can be very proactive now in the workplace. She can be working, she can be bringing up children. But what's happening to a lot of men is that men aren't contacting that element of masculinity in them, which is action, which is to do something. So a lot of men leave home and they don't know how to leave home. They don't know how to get a house. They don't know how to be a man.
Yeah.
And it's also a problem because they might have had a very dominant mother, because in our society women are being taught that they've got to do everything now. They've got to be working, they've got to be a mother, they've got to produce a lot of money, they've got to do all these things. So women are becoming very dominant in the family. Like a lot of my friends now, actually, they're in the situation where they're bringing up 2 kids, they're working full time, and they have a husband, and a few of them actually are now on better wages than their husbands, and being more involved with the kids than what the husbands are. They're like superwomen. They get up at like 5 a.m. and they don't go to bed till like 11 o'clock at night. Their lives are super, super intense. And so what's happening is a generation, or generations since most probably the 80s, of men are growing up not knowing how to be men.
I agree with you.
The best thing that you can do is leave the nest.
Yeah, so
and learn how to be a man on your own terms. And this is very typical story, like the journey of the man to leave home. And I know you can't talk about your personal circumstances, but every time I speak with you, my urge is to tell you to not stay at home, not do this by yourself, to get out there and explore for yourself, and to be in contact with other men.
Yeah, of course. of course. But then you think that then suffering is a problem and must be stopped, must stop, must stop.
Your
The
mind is
suffering
very
must
good at
stop.
coming up with excuses, eh?
Sorry.
I said your mind is very good at coming up with excuses.
Yes, I mean, because what I'm asking you is, okay, there is suffering, there is this oscillation between self-realization and then I come back to absolute suffering. But then this suffering, what is suffering? I don't know what it is. It is a problem. I must stop this. I must transcend it. What I must, what I
do
do,
you
what I
want?
do,
What do you want?
what I want. I want life.
Right? And you want to stop suffering, or you want to carry on suffering?
The way I see it is that suffering, I would define suffering as the destruction of life.
Right.
To destroy life is to suffer. So
you want to end your suffering?
Probably yes.
And what do you think that you suffer mostly about? Do you worry a lot about career and future and what to do?
No, I actually don't worry at all about this. I don't know, you really want me to talk about my problems?
Well, not to overexpose yourself. Like I don't want you to get into a situation where you say stuff on the internet that you don't want to be saying. Like you say what's right for you, but I know that on my side I'm very aware of my body and my feelings, and sometimes I'm in denial of what I feel, but a lot of the time I'm quite in line with myself, and I feel when I'm crossing a boundary, or I feel when something's not right, and I don't know how aware you are of yourself. So I'm in the conversation with you quite aware of what I'm feeling and quite aware of when I'm saying something that's out of line with myself. I don't know if you are, so I don't know if you are aware when you're exposing yourself when you don't want to.
I am very aware. I'm really aware.
Okay. So if you're aware of yourself, how come you're not worrying about work and producing money? That's a very weird thing for a young man not to be worried about.
Because I have other priorities, really.
Really?
Yes.
Are you sure that there's not worry there?
What do you mean?
Are you sure that there's not concern about your future, career and money and producing a life?
I can't answer that, because there is this idea that to a seeker, to a spiritual seeker, or to an enlightened being, there is no sense of future. If you become enlightened, you don't have a future.
Okay, so forget all that, because this is just
there is this idea. I'm brainwashed.
You're
what can I do?
Brainwashed. You're not victim to anything. You're not brainwashed by anything. So let's go back to this. So when your parents push you to try to do something, how does it make you feel? They want you to work, or they want you to get involved in society. How does that make you feel?
I acknowledge the reality of life. I know that it's important, but I also see they trying to force me to be something that I'm not.
And how does that make you feel?
Horrible. When they try to force me,
so therefore I can assure you, you've got an issue with the work thing, because your urge is to produce for yourself, just like the urge of a bird is to fly.
Yes, of course, I agree.
To produce and to give what you have inside you to other people. Like all of us have that. But
not necessarily in a conventional way, or go to school or have a traditional.
Are you sure that this conversation isn't coming from a place of that you feel insecure about it, so you're making excuses?
My insecurities are of a different nature. The thing is,
because when I was younger, I became very left wing and very disagreeing with society, the way it was set up. Partly because I think that I was intelligent and I could see it's not the best loving way to function, but also because I was terrified of it. There was also a part of me that was terrified of it.
But it is terrifying. It is evil.
I was terrified of becoming independent. No, not just the being a part of society, but becoming independent. Of no longer being a child. Hello? Hello?
One second. Wait.
I'm waiting.
Okay, sorry for that.
That's okay. I'm
Yes.
waiting.
I was listening. You were saying that, okay, you were younger and you had this issue with society, but you are
I was
insecure at the same time.
terrified of being an adult. I was terrified
Yeah.
of
No, of
becoming an
course,
adult.
I'm not denying my fears.
I was using all the spirituality to also, and it was really great because it pushed me into spirituality, and I'm so happy it did that. But I was also doing it as a way to avoid becoming independent because I was so afraid of doing it. I didn't know how. I've been told my whole childhood that I was a failure in so many aspects. I just felt like a failure every time I thought about future or producing. I didn't feel that feeling of as inspired. Whereas now I feel inspired to give. And when I give, things come back.
Yes.
That's a balanced way of being.
Yes.
And it's like our actions are reflecting our state of mind. So it's like if you do something and change something, it's like reflecting a state of your mind, like going on the journey, like leaving home, like doing something. It changes the state of your mind.
Yes.
It helps you see things.
Definitely. And also I developed this, and I don't quite believe this anymore, but I developed this belief throughout the seeking process that doing is ego. If I do something, that's illusion, that's ego, so I must do nothing at all. I cannot speak to people, I have to be absolutely silent. I have this, I truly developed this pattern, this belief. I don't trust this anymore because I have seen that when I take action, when I speak, the situation actually becomes more powerful. I become even closer to truth.
Yeah. And so see that your mind interprets everything that it hears to suit itself.
Yeah.
Like, so if you felt a different way, you'd have interpreted that differently. So just notice what happens.
It's true.
So when you said that there's so much suffering, the reason there's so much suffering is because there's contradictory beliefs going on inside of you. You're in war internally.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not sure.
Because you cannot make assumptions also. But I see what you're saying. But that's what I was thinking. Okay, because I don't know what suffering is. I'm innocent. I just feel it. I see that I am dying. And then I'm asking you because you have a spiritual awareness. So what do you think spiritually? It must stop, or I don't, because there is this belief that the person doesn't exist. So
the reason that you're suffering is because you're in conflict with yourself.
Oh, definitely, yes. Self-denial also, definitely. So I must change this. That's what you're saying. To change the situation.
My advice to you would be to leave home. And what that means is go into an environment where you can meditate, but with people. Go into an ashram for a year or so. Change your environment. It will blow your mind. Like, I was so lucky and grateful that I traveled when I was younger and experienced like difference and saw things. Like, I remember the first time I traveled for a long period. The first time I did it was I interrailed around Europe, but it wasn't that really influenced me. It was amazing. But the next time was I did an exchange with my university, and I went and lived in America for 7 or 8 months and studied at an American university. And I remember just feeling like it's so amazing that there's all these parallel lives. Like, Lisa's life in America was so different to England.
Yes,
and it really was like great for me to be out of the energy of my parents, of English culture, and I know American is really similar to English culture, but it's different, and it really opened me up to different ways of being and seeing myself and understanding myself. Like, and it was such an empowering thing to be so far away from anyone I knew, like to be so alone.
But can I say something about it?
Yeah.
But when you are speaking like this, you are speaking as person. I'm sorry I'm saying this, but that's how I was.
But the thing is I don't listen to that as a proper question and think that you're saying something in critique to what I say. What I listen and what I hear is He's trying to use non-duality to deny the humanness of life.
Yes, because that's how I learned it, that the person is an illusion. So
You're
if
not
you say
victim. That's not how you learnt it. That's how you interpreted it.
yes, I know. I
Like
know.
how I
I agree.
learnt it is like, well, that's what
Yes.
they taught me. Like, it's how you interpreted it.
Of
It's what
course, because of
suited
my
you.
own, yes, because of my own limitation, my own limited way of thinking. I understand it. I understand it. So yes, I accept that I am wrong. Maybe
No, I'm not saying
I'm
that you're wrong. Like, I'm not going into that path. Like you
yes.
are wrong. Like that. I'm just trying to encourage you to deal with some of the human aspects. If you want to stop suffering, you have to deal with some of the human aspects. Otherwise, you're going to keep being pulled into the story of being human. The reason that you're tightly involved in the seeking energy is because you're uncomfortable, and the reason you're uncomfortable is because the person is out of line. The first out of alignment is to believe that you are a human, but now you're a human and you believe it and you've got all out of balance. So the person needs to balance, and then there is this other shift that happens.
But what if other people do not accept who I am or my way of being? They want me to be like them. What if they don't accept it? I cannot be like who I am. I can't be. That's why I suffer so much.
Right.
I simply cannot be who I am.
Right.
They don't want me to be who I am.
Who are you talking about?
I'm talking about mostly my family, but other people also, because I see that people are. I'm different. I'm simply different from everyone that I see.
This is the hero's journey. Like when you watch films, so much like the archetype of the hero, of leaving home and finding his own life. You're allowed to do that. You don't have to live up to your family's idea.
Yes. Let's see what happens in this.
Like trying to force them into accepting you the way you are and forcing you to accept their acceptance isn't going to work.
It hurts me that they don't accept it. It just hurts. Hurts so bad.
Yeah. And you've got their voices internally, so you're in this conflict of your flow, your natural way of being, and then you've got the voice, the imprint of the family.
Yes, exactly. Definitely yes.
And you're allowed to be the way you are. But you've got to give yourself permission to leave them, to leave their ideas. And sometimes that has to happen on the manifest level. You actually have to physically do that.
What if I don't have the power to do that?
It will come as soon as you put your attention to it.
So,
it happened to me. Like I went and lived in Australia for like 4 years, and then in Asia for 2 years, and it was so amazing to have that experience. And I never thought I'm going to do that, but I was calling in this freedom, this wanting to expand, and then it happened. There was a moving, and it was so great to be away from my family for that period, to allow myself to really become myself on the human level, to follow my flow. Like I can assure you that my parents' aspiration for me was not to be a non-duality speaker.
I can't believe that.
And not to do all these spiritual things. But luckily my parents are super open-minded. Like I'm not like, there's a willingness to accept it, but like they would prefer, that I was like an accountant, or I don't know actually if they would prefer I was an accountant, but I'm sure they would prefer a more conventional life. I think they would prefer that I had grandkids. I think they would be very happy if I started producing babies.
Yes.
So it's like you have to do that. My mum, she mentions grandkids a lot, like wanting grandkids, and I have to stand in that, like with her. Like she knows that I have no intention to have children, and I have to stand in that and be there with her and not let her energy drag me down in any way. This is my flow, this is my dance, and that is her flow, and that is her karma, and that is her dance. But if I just stayed in their energy and not seen from different perspectives, I don't know if I'd have had the strength to allow that change to happen and allow myself to really flower as myself. You have to become
Yes,
a man.
I am.
At the moment, you're still in the boy energy of looking for your parents' approval.
That's true. The problem is that I am literally struggling with self-denial. I literally deny myself. I deny my own heart. So this makes me suffer even more.
Yeah,
So much pain, so much suffering.
yeah.
Self-denial.
There's so much out there for you. There's so much to explore. There's so many possibilities. And there's so many places for you to be yourself and to show yourself, and where your talents and your particular flow will be appreciated as it is. And sometimes the human has to go on that journey to become more in balance, to then shift and see that you are never that person. But when it's really suffering, there's so much energy and attention put on the suffering. Your energy is drawn and contracted into your chakras that are out of balance. Like it's like, when there's a thorn in your finger, like it's like there's so much attention on that thorn, it can't be seen. There is this infinite, there's this hugeness. Like dare to sit with yourself this evening and ask yourself what it is that you want. Not your mum, not your dad. What you want. And allow yourself to want that. And feel the empowerment when you acknowledge what you want. And whether that's to end suffering, if it's to end suffering, then go and put yourself in an environment where you can meditate, where you can explore what it is to be you. Not where you're in an environment where people are disencouraging that. We're so lucky as Westerners. I'm not sure where you're from, I'm pretty sure you're European. We have these opportunities. So many opportunities. I never realised when I was 20, I didn't think I had any opportunities. I had so many opportunities, and I had such low self-esteem that I didn't realise. I didn't realise that I was an attractive white woman. I did not realise that. I had no sense of it. I didn't realise that I had intelligence, that I had creativity to offer people and give people, and that there were so many things that I could do. I felt so small after education system that constantly told me I was wrong and bad.
So then my problem is lack of confidence.
I don't know if it's lack of confidence or low self-esteem as such, but I certainly feel that there's so much that you've got possibility for, and the reason that you're at war is most likely because you're in this position where your parents want you to be something and your heart doesn't feel that. You're not being appreciated for the beauty of what you are. And as you begin to appreciate yourself, you'll begin to put yourself in situations where you're appreciated. You're allowed to want things. Now, you're never going to find freedom in those things, but that's the way this body moves. This body moves towards that which it wants. So if you want dinner, you move towards food. Like I'm pretty sure after this stream, I'm going to move towards the kitchen. And I've got to move towards the kitchen and feed the dog as well. But the body wants this. The body wants to look after Khaleesi. The body has these wants. Like I love being creative, so I move towards creativity. I love being around creative people, so I move towards creative people. I never thought I was allowed that.
Yes, but you have power. I don't. I feel powerless. I don't know.
I have power because I feel empowered. You don't have power because you feel powerless.
And what causes feeling then?
It's caused by your conditioning. It's by the way you've been brought up, and you've been conditioned to feel like that.
And why was I conditioned? No, don't answer that.
I don't know your particular story, but I can pretty much guess it, because even though we are unique and individual, like as Westerners and Europeans, we tend to have similar conditionings. It's that you more than likely weren't appreciated in the education system, and your parents didn't appreciate your qualities. They were trying to get you to match their qualities.
The same story, always the same story.
It's nobody's fault. It's just now that you have to step out of that. You have to find that strength inside of you to move away from that and to see your beauty as you are.
Yeah, I found strength when I meditate and my heart opens. I feel a healing energy and intuition. I feel strength, power. But it goes away. That's the problem.
It goes away because you come back into a society that then closes you down again. And then you look at your particular environment, at your bedroom, at your house, you speak to your mum, and then the energy closes you down again. They say something, and then you feel like you're powerless again. You've got to move into situations which are powerful. So the way you do this is you've got to sit down tonight or in the next few days and acknowledge what you want. When you acknowledge what you want, it's a powerful situation. When you're trying to push away what you don't want, your family, your particular situations, it's a weak situation. Acknowledging what you want is strong. It's not going to give you freedom as in the I am and the consciousness, but it's going to give you power in the human world. In the human world, you've acknowledged you feel powerless. And I could tell all of this the first time I spoke to you, but it takes time for me to be able to say this to someone, and it's not, I can't blast someone with this all straight away. I mean, in a way, it's...
I see.
I've got to also be careful because, I am very strong, and I've got to, not blast you with all my strength.
You are very strong. That's true. Especially if the person.
But when I was 20, when I was 18, 19, I was an addict and I was bulimic, and I had the most horrible self-esteem. Horrible self-esteem. I felt so trapped and so uncomfortable in myself that my relief was making myself sick. My relief from my emotions was making myself sick. I'm sure you've got no experience with being a bulimic, but I'm not sure, but I don't get the sense that that's an issue that's there. But in me, when I was a bulimic, it was about releasing the emotional tension that was in my belly. It was a relief when I was sick. It wasn't so much about the eating, it was the sickness that was a relief.
Yes, I can feel it.
It's like I felt sick to the stomach with myself. And I was pushed into all these interviews and auditions for university, and I would lay at night feeling sick with worry about them.
Yes, that's horrible.
Yeah. And I just had no appreciation of myself. I just saw my failures. I did really well, but I just saw the times when I didn't do well. I just couldn't appreciate myself.
But why does life have to be so painful, so difficult? This is ridiculous. I know this is a child question, but that's what I think.
That thought process comes from an already abnormal way of looking at life, so it's almost like an out-of-line question.
Yes, I trust you. I trust what you're saying.
Really, the answer to that in the conditions of the way we communicate is because life is trying to become conscious, self-conscious. So Khaleesi can never know that she is love, whereas humans have this ability to know that they are love and to know that they're consciousness. And life is trying to head towards that. And so in order for that to happen, it first of all had to identify with what it wasn't in order to know what it was.
Yes, that's interesting.
But that answer kind of is, I'm already answering in a question I'm already answering a question which isn't in line with the way things are. So
yes, I trust what you're saying. I can feel it. I just can't see as you see, but I feel it.
Feel it.
Yes. The mind is the problem for some reason.
Yeah. The mind is the problem. The identification with that. This overtaking mind.
Yes. It's always escaping from something that's here and now. I don't know what it is, but the mind's always trying to go somewhere else.
So the way that you learn what it is by feeling your feelings, because your feelings don't bullshit. It's only the mind that lies. So when your mind is going off into different things, come into your body and see what the feelings are. This is what I was trying to say earlier about I was trying to say that I understand myself pretty well, so I know when I'm crossing a boundary. I understand this body, what it wants and what it doesn't want, and I'm not sure that you understand your body. Your body knows.
Yes, I just don't know exactly. I just can't discern exactly what
Yeah.
would be an illusion or not.
Yeah.
Like my body wants this, but this might be an illusion. So is that a desire, a human desire?
No, that's mind stuff. That's mind stuff. You need to just keep coming into the feeling. So what is it that your body feels right now?
If you want me to answer honestly,
Yeah.
what it feels right now is a very deep healing process that I have been through for so many years. A very deep exhaustion that I need to rest and relax because of so much emotion and pressure and negativity and all this energy stuff. I just need to rest. I'm so exhausted. That's what it feels.
Where do you feel that in the body?
Sorry?
Where do you feel that?
Where?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how to
You
answer this.
You don't understand your body, because that's actually not what your body's saying. That's what your mind's saying. So in this meditation group I do, I sort of guide people through the chakra centers, because the chakras are very accurate energy centers of what you feel.
Yes, but you have to be a certain state to be able to access what you're calling as chakras. Otherwise, it would just be a belief that I will.
Well, what you can do is you just start putting your attention into those parts of the body and you explore for yourself. So
yes, when I meditate, I really feel energy is moving my body. I feel what you're calling chakras. I just don't know fully what it is. I just feel like these balls that are oscillating, moving in my body in 7 different parts.
Yeah, they also have feelings with them and emotions. So when you're feeling sad, often you'll find that you feel it in your heart area or on your throat. When you're feeling angry, in the solar plexus. You just need to get to know it. So when you're having particular thoughts, you understand what the feelings are in your body. When you're having certain situations happen, you understand what the feelings are.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Because at the moment, there's too much attention in your thought processes.
Sorry?
There's too much attention in your interpretation rather than in the actual feeling.
Yes. I have a very strong mental identity. Really, really strong. It's amazing how it works. It destroys me, but it's pretty amazing. It doesn't stop. The thoughts are so strong. Don't know if that's natural, but that's what I experience.
What are you eating? It's making me hungry.
You
haven't had my dinner. It sounds like what we would call in the UK fruit pastels, like very juicy.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I honestly don't know how to say this in English.
There's so many positive things about you, Thomas. Like you're so open.
I know.
But the fact that you're willing to come on and talk like this, you're so open and reflective. What do you feel when I say those sorts of things? Do you like it or do you want to reject it?
When you say that I'm positive?
There's positive things about you. There's like really beautiful qualities.
I don't want to reject it because I know it's true.
How does it make you feel?
it just reminds me of the reality that I am literally denying myself, depriving myself from my own qualities and talents or whatever.
Okay, so
My own
see if you can embody this, that you've got a very open heart.
Yeah,
See,
I'm
instead
afraid
of
to embody
thinking
it.
lack, like, oh yeah, I can't embody that, just see if it makes you feel nice that I'm saying that to you.
I don't know. I have a very deep obstacle in my family. My family seems to be in the way of my own power and my own divinity.
Your idea
I
of
don't
your
know.
family is in the way, not your literal family.
The things that I experience, what is referred to in religious traditions as temptation, I literally experience temptation. People really tempt me. And the temptations are so damn strong. I know it's making me grow. I know it. I know it. I have actually, how can I say this? A certain guidance from the universe. I don't want to speak in spiritual terminologies, but I have certain guidance. So I know I'm literally going to a process of initiation and growth and all of that stuff. I know it's difficult, but it will make me stronger. It's supposed to make me stronger, but it's been so damn difficult that it's so fucking difficult. I would fucking die. I feel like I'm dying, but it's okay. I am strong. I know how strong I am. I can survive this.
So what about if I say that you're super strong? How does that make you feel?
I don't know.
Does it feel any type of pleasure?
That sounds I don't know. That sounds yeah. That sounds good. That sounds good.
Does it give you
That
any
sounds good.
pleasure?
Definitely. When you say yes, of course, definitely in the heart
Yeah,
center.
so
Yes.
feel that.
Yeah.
Feel that I think that you're super strong.
Uh, yes. For some reason, I want to deny that, but okay. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. I think you're very brave as well.
I am. I'm so brave.
That sounded sarcastic. Nice. Well, I think I've given you lots of juice to listen to for the next live stream or the next time we speak. Like you can listen to this back, and I think you'll find it really helpful to reflect on. But remember to always come back to your feeling. Like keep exploring your body and come back to what you feel and what you think.
Yeah. Okay. I would do that.
You are not victim to anything. You are the I am and the empty looking. You are everything. You're totally empowered. And you're totally capable of anything. Well, thank you so much for calling in. It was lovely to talk to you again.
Okay, thank you too.
Yeah, I send you lots of love.
Interesting. Yeah.
Thanks.
You're so beautiful, so joyous.
Thank you.
Okay, so
thanks.
Bye.
Bye, Thomas. That was such a beautiful conversation. I really appreciate speaking with Thomas because there's this real openness to growth. Even though his energy is also trying to push it away, there is an openness to it. Okay, my loves, I'm off for dinner. Thomas made me hungry. Let's just see. I send you lots of love. Thank you guys for allowing this conversation to happen. Like, it wouldn't happen without the participation for you. So thank you very much. I send you lots of love. Bye.